Alright, hi everyone, this is Nitro. So in this video I am going to review some of my matches that I've played in Apex Arena so far, and we'll see what I've been doing in Apex thus far, because it's been an interesting season. Like I personally find AoE does not work this season at all, so I had to make a huge rotation away from it, which is why there was this stream. So I just want to double check and make sure that the chat is actually showing up on the screen, and it doesn't seem to be. So give me a moment to just get that fixed before I begin. Let me see. I'm not sure why, but every now and then I do have this problem. Actually really odd. There we go. Had to make a few adjustments to the chat box, but as soon as it did, the messages started showing up. Okay, so we're good. Okay, so I'm going to jump into my Apex Arena section and give a quick overview. Yes, we do, Iskarka. So thus far in the season, I've played 22 matches over the past 3 weeks, well, including this week, I suppose. Of those, there were 14 wins, 8 losses. Keep in mind, in the qualifier matches, I went 3 wins, 2 losses, because I just skipped my first 2 battles. So, effectively, I suppose, my win rate is 11 wins and... 11 wins and 6 losses? Is that correct? 11-6, yeah. Okay. There was also one period where I lost 4 in a row before I finally adjusted my box, so there is that too. I'm going to start with, I guess, let's see. So yeah, going to the qualifiers, right? I just automatically skipped 2 matches, just retreated right away. And then after that, sorry, here I think. Where are am I? There we go. Qualifying match, right? I just retreated right away on this one, retreated right away on this one. Then I fought 3, won all of those before I started having, actual more serious battles. So yeah, I scrolled all the way to my playoff ones. Jeez. So I guess I'll start with one of the qualifier matches, because that was kind of interesting. It just showed the utility of Broken Arrow there. So we'll begin there. Alright, so initially my box was oriented toward... The concept of my box initially was to bring dark faction buffers as well as Hobo to potentially buff up Mythical Realm. So the idea was I would have enough faction buffers for Zerda, for Keira, and for Juggler, right? And then, we would work it from there. So that was the basic concept initially. The healers, as a result, were Florentia, Rosensteel, and Licorice. And then this first battle was against, I guess, Veet, who actually is bringing Ro. So he's running a single target box, right, very clearly. And the pick ban phase was just Keira first ban, and he played Keira right away because I banned Rosensteel. So I got rid of Liana and LoliJess after that, so that he had no healers and got rid of LoliJess, the teleporter. So I start off with my tank, which was Hilda in this case, and he just banned Sigma and Omega, 2 of my assassins right away. So he plays Juggler. I get rid of Ro and Yulia, some single target hitters, and I play my remaining assassin Zerda. Okay. So Himiko LoliJess removed. He plays Illustrial, so 2 assassins now. I get rid of Yusuke and Omega, playing My Jugler. So I played double tank with Zerda. Akaya and Licorice were removed. On his side, he plays Rosalia, so pretty nasty combo thus far. So I get rid of his remaining single target strikers, Noemi and SP Elwyn, forcing him to pick another tank. Right. So So I get Florentia now, so that gives me 2 tanks, a healer with act again purposes, and Zerda. So pretty much won the pick ban here, big time, right? Because now he has to play a second tank, which is useless, and so he plays Landius, and I choose to play Bernhard between Bernhard and Rosensteel. Right? It just makes no sense to play double healer. So with that, he is basically left with one character that is kind of useless, and on my side, I just need to survive assault and make sure Zerda doesn't die. Which could be difficult due to his double assassin. So, he actually chose to bring the faction buff on Juggler to buff up Illustrial, which does make Juggler far less useful. Right? By comparison, on my side, since Zerda is providing the faction buff to my Juggler, he can afford to bring the Beast Shock. So one change I did make is my Juggler is now Cavalry. Okay. Enchants are kind of iffy for my Juggler because I still went for full hit points. I didn't go for defense and magic defense for full damage output. But you know, I don't have that many enchant scrolls to reroll my Juggler at the end of the day. So he's not exactly high damage output, but he is a disruptor for me. I'm not playing an AoE team, so I don't plan to particularly reroll my Juggler because that's going to be a lot of scrolls to reroll. In any case, so continuing to set up at the back. Oh, one other advantage of bringing Bernhard, of course, is his faction buff, right? Since he buffs up Florentia and Hilda, I could bring Rout on my Hilda. So Hilda is bringing Crimson Command, Broken Arrow, and Rout. And the Broken Arrow was under the expectation that he would not bring that many physical strikers. Right? I had a feeling he would not have Beast Shock on Juggler, and Rosalia, you know. Rosalia, when she attacks, she has Chivalry for immunity anyways. So the Broken Arrow made more sense than bringing the other broken skill. So Broken Arrow will be there to counter Illustrial, essentially. Hello, hello, hello. So setting things up. Rushing my slow-moving Bernhard. And then right after I rush him, he got the Tenyo's robe plus 3 mobility. So a little bit of a wasted rush, but that's okay. So now that I've been set up and ready, Zerda triggers her Heart of Alhazard. So she is now ready to assassinate. There is limited range right now, but keep in mind Florentia can always provide that mobility buff of 2 more range. And now, here's the Disruption Assault. So, he ended turn on Illustrial, and this gave me the opportunity to just jump in with my Juggler. Juggler doesn't do any real damage due to Kayura and Juggler providing healing to his whole party, but it does lock down the enemy Kayura, as well as Rosalia. So neither can use them now. Okay. Single target strike. My Juggler dies. Melts. Does not survive. So, pushing up. Continuing the assault then. Kayura now wipes out my second character, Florentia. So I'm down 2 characters, but since Bernhard got the mobility buff, I could continue to attack aggressively. So Bernhard begins by striking with a melee strike to weaken. And Zerda will assassinate and finish off that Juggler. So 3v4 right now. Bernhard is on the forest tile. So, and since Rosalia had already used her attack skill, right, she does not have the 1.6 times damage attack this time around. So Bernhard just tanks it. Next is to charge forth with the route skill to stun Langrisser. So Bernhard continues to tank like a boss. Right. While Illustrial launched out the Jade Storm, right? But Bernhard, with his hegemony, dispelling and removing debuffs and so on, was able to tank that hit. Since Illustrial was damaged, she didn't have enough output to kill off this Bernhard. So that lets me have Bernhard wrap around and finish off the damaged Kyura. So now it's currently 3v3. Despite him taking out 2 characters right at the start, it's been reduced to a 3v3 at this point. And then Zerda will assassinate Rosalia now. So 2v2. And I try to protect my Zerda. Doesn't really work. Illustrial, because Zerda did not heal to full health, while Illustrial was at full health, her free range attack was able to easily finish off Zerda. Would be different if Zerda still had Lacerates up, but she didn't. So yeah. Dead, dead, dead. So it is now down to Langrisser and Illustrial against my Hilda. Damage-wise, I am still winning. Okay. And now I start having Hilda attack. Just melee striking. This is where where it starts getting interesting in a lot of ways, because he attempts a 3-range attack with Illustrial, but due to Broken Arrow, right? Broken Arrow allows me to counterattack against physical range attacks if the attacker is within 3 blocks. So Illustrial's 3 range meant that she was taking counterattack damage, and that reduced her to a near-death state. Okay. So suddenly, Illustrial is basically useless in this situation. So I'm just gonna keep attacking endlessly on this Langrisser. So despite me only having just 1 character against 2, the end result is there's really not much you can do at this point, because of my ability to counterattack against Illustrial. So just continuing to smack. He tries to have Illustrial attack me. It does kill me, my first life, but my counterattack kills off Illustrial in return. So we're both down to 1 life now. Okay, I actually have more damage output than he does, so even if it goes past turn 12, I've won. Right. But I know I can finish off this Langrisser anyways by using the Ragnarok to do some fixed damage. And then there we go. So this battle completely came down to the fact that I had brought Broken Arrow on Hilda. If I didn't, I would have lost. Hilda's skill selections, that 1-point skill, which one you bring is very, very important. And it should be based on what characters the enemy has. Can't stress that enough. You know, I see most people like to bring Ram all the time. That's not always the smartest option. So that was the very, very first battle that I wanted to review. And I went way too far, I think. Trying to find the battles. Okay, there's the qualifiers here. So a quick demonstration of something that my opponent made a mistake on is with using Lucretia. Okay. So I'm just going to skip this because the pick ban doesn't particularly matter. He basically just messed up big time. So we'll just quickly let him act and move forward. I guess the one thing I'll mention is my party continues to remain pretty similar, right? With Zerda, 2 tanks, Florentia, and then a 5th character. He is initially hovering in the far back. And I've once again allowed double assassin for my enemies, Keira and Zerda and Juggler. So he actually makes the first move by jumping Juggler in. So I just quickly put this Juggler to sleep. So he hovered in the far back initially. Okay, this I didn't expect. A long range Keira, right? The extra range. So, but despite having that extra range, Star Slash was not able to kill me. Alright. So 4 range Keira. This was a 5-star Keira. I actually could not finish off my Zerda. Alright. The key point would be because this is an assassin Keira. If it was Holy class, it would have absolutely crushed the Hellfire Archers. Okay. Because it was not Holy class though, it just didn't do enough output. Right? Keep in mind Keira will launch her attacks on the soldiers. If it was Holy, 10 shots would have killed off the Hellfire Archers, then 10 shots from Keira plus the Sorceresses would have killed off Zerda. In this case, clearly, Keira needed 2 shots to kill off each Hellfire Archer, and then the Sorceresses didn't do enough. Yeah, and yes, that as well. No attack buff, right? There was no plus 20% int, so there was just not enough damage output at all to take down a buffed Zerda with an unbuffed Keira. So, doesn't really affect me. Dead soldiers? Fine, I'll just Heart of Alhazard my Zerda. And this is where he screwed up big time. Alright? Let me just go back there. So, clearly, his plan was to teleport Lucretia forward and then have Lucretia launch out a 4-range attack. Right? Or 5-range attack as the case may be. Okay. Because he had positioned both characters on the very back row on the first turn, it meant that by swapping positions, the Arcane Golem killed itself on the Poison Fog. Right? So suddenly, Lucretia lost her range. Now, he also triggered Breeze on Lucretia, so this would have meant that Lucretia could have moved up 5 and may have been able to, would have been able to do a long-range attack. But with this, suddenly, Lucretia's reduced to 2 range. So suddenly, by positioning both characters on the very back row, he screwed himself. Long story short, by doing that teleport. So I guess the moral of the story, don't position yourself in a row where Poison Fog will appear the following turn, because that will get your characters killed when you do a teleport like that. So he basically screwed up there, right? Lucretia suddenly became useless. From having extreme range, she suddenly just had 2. And the battle is more or less over. Right? Because I can do whatever I want here. Lucretia is an easy kill, right? The only thing that remains for me to worry about is the fact that he has 2 assassins to my 1. But that's easily countered by doing this. So, Juggler, suicidal jump time, kaboom, right? It weakens all these enemies, applies the mobility as water so that they can barely move. And Zerda will just take out the character like that. So Zerda takes out the tank in the front, leaving Lucretia very vulnerable as well. He has Zerda kill off my Bozal, which was interesting. I would have killed my Juggler, but I'm not complaining, right? And so that let my Juggler kill off Kyura as well. So suddenly he's down to 3 characters in which this heavily damaged Lucretia is useless and can be easily killed by Hilda, and it's game over. So, Suicidal Juggler has been surprisingly effective. So the box continued to remain the same for a while. I was able to get various wins with it. Here's like another tank push strategy. So most of my wins really have been deploying both Juggler and Hilda when possible. Alright. So taking a look at the opponent's box, right? MyArrowIsBack has a very Empire-oriented box. Alten Muller, Bernhard, mostly Empire with the nice assassins mixed in, SP Cherie, Kyura, Illustrial, right? Those long-legged assassins. He is bringing, interestingly enough, Freya as a tank, along with Juggler. So, triple tank there. I banned Isilda, he banned my LoliJess to start, plays Illustrial right away, So I get rid of 2 more tanks, right? Although he's still, technically Bernhard and Alten Muller are still both tanks. So I now lose Zerda and Florentia. Opponent plays Alten Muller to start. So strategist buff for Illustrial. So I'll get rid of Bernhard and his Florentia, right? And play my Rosenseal. Kyura and Sigma ban. So I've lost 3 of my assassins now, right? That's already, sorry, one quick point, yeah. I've already adjusted my box a bit and threw in another assassin. So there were 3 before. Because I kept getting my assassins banned, where I could only play 1, there are now 4 assassins right for now. So there is Zerda, Omega, Kyura, and Sigma in the box. So he plays Rosenseal. SP Cherie and Kyura are now banned. So I got rid of his assassins, and I play Omega. We both have 1 assassin in play. So he gets rid of my mobility buffer and my hobo, playing Lucretia. I get rid of his Liana and LoliJess. I'll play my Juggler. He gets rid of my Bozal and Licorice, right? Both of which faction buff up Omega. Plays Helena instead of Licorice, and on my side I have a choice between Bernhard and Himiko, and I go for Bernhard. I don't really play an AoE team, so given that what I had available, right, there would have just been Juggler for AoE and Himiko as AoE. Wouldn't have made any sense. So Bernhard being able to shield bash or whatever made a lot more sense to me. And I decided to bring shield bash. I'm actually not sure why I decided to bring shield bash given I was facing Rosenseal. I think it was because it was like, I was like, Sword Dance wouldn't do much against Rosenseal anyways, neither will shield bash. I guess I'll just bring shield bash. Hindsight, probably should have brought Hegemony, but didn't particularly matter here. So, an interesting thing I noted here as well is MyArrowIsBack is actually bringing gargoyles on Illustrial instead of the Elven Riders. So it is basically capped at 2 range because the gargoyles won't fight at 3 range. But he starts maneuvering a little bit forward with his characters. I'm just helping back. And in this battle, I am outranged, right? Celestial completely zones me. And furthermore, Lucretia, right, can teleport forward and attack. So I'm just hanging back. And he aggressively starts with Helena charging forth and attacking. So it strikes Juggler and does nothing. Wrong soldier choice, right? Because those Royal Cav just did nothing at all. And all the AoE damage is just getting healed up by Juggler. And Juggler, as well as Rosenseal, provide all this healing, and it just made the Helena useless. So, that makes this Helena a super easy kill for me. Okay. I'll just take my time and wipe him out. At the very least, I don't have to worry much about Celestial charging in yet. I was positioned in a way where Celestial could not hit this Omega. So, took the 2 range attack with Bernhard and took the kill. Right. So, by doing a 2 range attack with the shield bash, I could completely avoid taking any damage. And it did enough damage to kill off Helena, despite Bernhard being infantry against cavalry. So, with a kill advantage, I don't need to rush this, right? It's 5 against 4. I can slow play it. Now, this one I didn't expect. Okay. This was a surprise to me. I really did think that Rosenseal with Shrine Maidens and a faction buff could survive against this Celestial. Instead, Celestial one-shotted her. Right. Jade Storm, this was despite me having Shrine Maidens up. So it just completely went through, you know, with the attack and just smashed my healer. Hello, hello. Well, so be it. Let's trade some 3 range strikes. Okay. Omega gets the kill. I'm Celestial. 5 against 4. I don't have a healer. He does. But in terms of damage dealers, the only one left for him is Lucretia. AoE hits, which does nothing once again because of Juggler healing it up. In fact, I think it restored a bit more health on my Omega than he had before. Right? He went from 57% to 65% health, or 69% health. Yeah, SP ult can be scary, but keep in mind if SP ult did the AoE, Juggler would heal that AoE, and then Hilda would tank the damage. So, Lucretia continues to show off how annoying she is. She can move up, attack, then with the Arcane Golem get teleported back to safety, and then the Arcane Golem can also move back. So, he gets the hover in the far back, right, while dishing out damage. Although the damage didn't really count for much. So I will just have my Omega slowly output damage as a result. So Lucretia attacks again. Meh. Hilda barely survives it. And it's finally time for me to assault. Sacred beats him to jump in and do some AoE damage and disable Alton Miller. So that disables Ultimullers guard. Bernhard can then one-shot, or I thought one-shot Lucretia, but nope, Lucretia lives. Follow-up attack from Omega. Still doesn't kill Lucretia, just takes off her first life. Right, because the Arcane Golem is still alive. So, Arcane Golem Strike kills my Hilda the first time. Lucretia Strike kills my Hilda the second time. So, this time I smarten up and target the Arcane Golem. This one I didn't expect. Rosen Seal takes out my Omega. So suddenly it's there are 3 enemies versus my 2. But I get to act first. So Juggler will wipe out Rosen Seal. And he still can't move with Ultimuller because of Beast Shock, right? So Beast Shock disables the ability of enemies to move. And so he couldn't do anything except activate his guard skill, Strong Arm. So I get to quickly finish off Lucretia now. And then it's now Bernhard Juggler against Ultimuller, which is clearly going to be my victory at this point. The werewolves healing themselves is very, very useful. It's completely keeping my Juggler healthy, and Juggler is acting as my healer, keeping all my other characters healthy. Ultimuller is not able to kill off any of my characters at all. So, he is trying, right? Constantly attacking, but those werewolves are just tanking all that damage. First attack, the 2-range shield bash. So, and then the second attack from Bernhard will get the finisher. So there we go. Werewolves have become harder to use without any doubt because of the existence of Keira, but in the right battle or in the right situation, they're still one of the best soldiers. They've just become much more situational now. You have to avoid against holy enemies. Okay. So, but essentially, most of my wins have been kind of like this. I've been consistently relying on the double tank combo to win. For example, if I take a look at this one, like I've been using this CavJug comboed with another tank to win most of my matches. So I'm just gonna skip this pick ban and take a look at what happened here. So this is another battle, once again, with the same kind of combo. There is Hilda, there is Juggler, there is Florentia, there is Zerida, and there is Bozel as the 5th. Right? Against this party, he had no tank. So it was not a hard battle for me to win at all. Right? Especially when I can just jump Juggler in at the right time and have Hilda absorb any attack that's necessary. So I'll just skip this one. And the battles, I have a lot of wins by relying on Cavalry Juggler like this with Hilda combo. I think this battle, though, I only had CavJug. Didn't have the Hilda CavJug combo. Let's take a look. So, he has Akaya, and that was my first ban right away. I also bring Akaya for the same reason. She is a pretty big threat in mobility buffing characters. So LufiaScarlet is running an AoE team. Okay. But it is an assault AoE team, right? It's not a defensive one. So that's why it works, because it can maneuver very rapidly and get into range to do damage. Right? There's Ares, Helena, which does AoE. There is Kruger, that acts again, right? There is Clotaire, which acts again twice to get into AoE range. Lucretia can both AoE and single target, as we've seen. Egbert can teleport himself forward with the summon to AoE. And then there's Akaya and Werner to provide that mobility buff to move into range. And of course, Vincent is an AoE character too. So lots of mobility buffs, lots of long-range AoEs, or long-lived AoEs. So that's why the Rosensteel ban was first. So he plays Werner since I played Akaya. Right? And I start getting rid of AoEs, right? Ares and Bernhard first. And I play my Juggler, knowing that he's going to play that AoE team. So Kayura and LoliJess are now banned. So down goes Rosensteel, down goes Kayura, leaving just Juggler for that healing against AoEs. And he plays Helena. So I'll get rid of Juggler and Clotaire. The long-lived characters play my Florentia once again. Sigma and Omega are now banned. So that just leaves me Zerda as the remaining assassin. So he starts with Kruger, another long-legged AoE character. I'll get rid of Vincent and Bozel here. Debuffer and Vincent is very annoying to deal with. So drop down my Zerda now for my first assassin. So Akaya and Himiko ban. He plays Lucretia because once again she can teleport forward, right? With her doll. So Himiko and Rin ban, leaving him the choice of Egbert or Licorice. So he's clearly going to play Egbert. I play my Licorice here as a secondary healer against AoEs. And I lose Bozel and Bernhard. So he plays Egbert as expected. I have a choice between oh my god, Hobo and Hilda. So that was an interesting choice, but looking at it, I felt that Hilda might have been a more important choice. It was that one I was not sure about, but I figured I already have a faction buff from Licorice if I need it and so on, so I didn't feel like Hobo was a must bring. So the end result is Zerda ends up bringing her own faction buff to buff up Juggler. Right? Hilda will buff up Licorice and Florentia. And in that way, Licorice could bring her Dark Despair, Mass Heal, and Demonic Event. Debuffing, of course, with Kruger, right? Egbert, as expected, is bringing the Blazing Illusion along with Acid Burn. Yeah. So, the expected combo. And so, it comes down to really how well I use Juggler here. He has no healers. So it's a pure assault AoE team. Oh yeah, let's take a quick look at the Lucretia skills, right? See, so Lucretia is bringing Black Hole, Heaven Sanction, and Dark Reaper. So 2 AoEs. Hover in the far back, stay far away from his enemies. Right? And right away, Juggler Yolo charges, launches out his AoE, and dishes out a lot of damage to the whole enemy party. Right? So, YOLO, who cares? And I also get to maneuver forward after the AoE to lock down Kruger and the Arcane Golem so they can't move. So, Lucretia attempts a single target strike, but since she was already damaged, the single target strike doesn't do enough damage to one-shot this Juggler. If he wanted to one-shot, he would have had to use Helena. So, big mistake there. Gives me the opportunity to have Juggler take out the targets. And I choose to go after Egbert there. Right. Reason for Egbert is I want to make sure to avoid any kind of cannot be healed effect. Right. Juggler gets attacked. He didn't even trigger his Chivalry. I don't know why, but maybe he thought that this Helena could one-shot me without having Chivalry up. And instead, Juggler, with 2,740 attack, just one-shots his Helena. So, free bonus kill for me, right? He very, very much underestimated just how much damage output Juggler has. So, down goes Helena, down goes Egbert. He only has 3 characters left. I have all 5. Even if Juggler dies shortly after, who cares at this point? Werner also kills himself. Yep. So Doggo is just eating up his whole team. And he just gives up at that point. Didn't even need the rest of my party. Doggo just ate up his whole team. Let's see. The next battle was a bit more CavJug. Okay. So, the Lord Phi God. Oh, as a quick note, I should probably show what equipment is on my Doggo first, right? It's a bit of a hit or miss, my setup for him, because I continue to keep the Stealing Chant, right? So the Stealing Chant, yes, it does make him more he's more survivable and so on, but the downside of this kind of Juggler is that essentially I don't have as much damage output as other people's Jugglers, right? Because there's a lot of Jugglers that are going for maximum defense and magic defense so that Sacred Beast Sim would output as much damage as possible, and then instead of Steal, they choose to go for 2 blue. So you get plus 10% magic defense and defense, plus very high magic defense and chance to get the maximum damage. Right now, I'm still running the Stealing Chant with focus on getting lots and lots of hit points. So probably not the wisest option, but this is what I have. No, all enchants only kick in for your hero. But the difference is by going for this kind of hit points enchant, my Doggo did, for example, just survive against the Dark Reaper attack, right? So there are pros and cons of going for this style Juggler. I'm definitely losing damage output, but I do have a pretty good survival. As for number of matches, annual 22. 14 wins, 8 losses. I just have not been playing much. So, let's go back into this battle now. Yeah, I expect to get into 1800 pretty shortly. Oops, I just skipped. Oh, sorry guys, just skipped the pick ban. So keep in mind my box is still not really optimized, right? This was mostly the first week matches where I was still kind of experimenting, making sure everything works out smoothly. Got into gold 2 very, very fast though, as you see. I just went on a win spree like this. And I think after this match I was in gold 2, right from here. So box is still the same, right? Haven't adjusted it yet. Nope, haven't shown that yet. I start from the bottom and show the more recent matches later. So the Lord Phi God has a very overall, I'm not sure what his goal was, frankly. It has a lot of, it's like a hybrid box, you know. There are single targets, there are AoEs. You know, Vincent is more AoE oriented, Ares is more AoE oriented, Kruger is more AoE oriented, but then there is still the SP Cherie and so on. So I guess the goal was more AoE side rather than single target, but it's not really the season for it, I feel. In any case, so Rosenseal ban on both sides. He plays Bernhard to start, right? I get rid of Lucretia and Florentia after that. So that leaves him, the only healer would be Licorice. So I play my Juggler. Bernhard, LoliJess ban. Okay. Because I didn't have it unlocked. This is not my final box. So Kruger is next for the Lord Phi God. And I get rid of Kyura and LoliJess now. Teleporter and Assassin. And I play Licorice. So my Kyura and Zerd are now banned. He plays Himiko. He plays Juggler and Hobo. And I play Sigma. Right. So then Bozel and Himiko get banned. And he plays Helena. Right. So clearly very oriented towards AoE. Right. Everyone here has been AoE so far. So I get rid of the SP Cherie and the Ares. He has a choice of two final AoE characters. Right? No healers, but lots of high mobility characters. So very clearly he'll play Vincent. Right? I lose Omega and Florentia now. He plays Vincent. And my final pick is either Hilda or Akaya. I go for Akaya for the extra mobility here. And this is going to be kind of similar to the previous game, right? He has all AoE attackers, no real healers. I have a whole bunch of, damage dealers. Yeah, basically oriented towards outputting damage. Yeah. And Hobo is my faction buff for Juggler this time around. Start with Sigma, Ranger's Eye on the enemy Helena to get an easy assassination when I need it to. So, since Kruger used its skill on my Akaya, I just move back, activate the Wild Power to remove one part of it, and then end turn. So, just avoiding some debuffs. Hobo buffs up these characters for now. And Licorice will faction buff herself. So both sides are kind of hovering back initially. And now I have Akaya trigger her skill to buff up everybody. She applied some debuffs on my party, right? But everyone now has the plus 30% attack. So they're ready to move in. Lord Phi God, though, gets to start off. So, in he comes. The strike. Does not one-shot my Juggler once again. And it kicks in with a whole bunch of AoE damage to my party, which does hurt. But nobody dies to it, which is the most important part. So, quickly then, Licorice can mass heal the whole group, and they're basically all restored to near full health. So much for that AoE, right? Himiko does a follow-up. It does damage my Juggler and Akaya, but Juggler provides the healing again, and now both Licorice and Sigma are truly at full health. So this is a good time to just Shadow Duel destroy Helena. Right. This is exactly why I got... I locked down on Helena first. Another quick suicidal strike, and then knock the enemies back. For now, with an AoE. And follow it up with the Juggler Jump. So that way, first of all the enemies get damaged. Second of all, they can barely move because they're now considered as being in water. And third of all, the lockdown makes it so that Himiko and Kruger can't move. So, and Vincent can barely move as well. I didn't expect that though. Dark Ward does allow Kruger to get out. So he could Dark Ward, because Dark Ward is considered like a special move, she was able to move off of my Juggler and open up a spot to attack my Juggler. Well, so be it. I'll have my Juggler attack Himiko and move back. And the whole point of that was I move out of Bernhardt's range. So Bernhardt cannot finish off my Juggler. Right? They're all still heavily mobility debuffed, which is the main point. So, these sword dances, fine. You know. I'll now have Akaya launch out her 3C skill and one-shot Juggler that way. Or sorry, one-shot Bernhardt that way. Right. So Akaya moves up, uses the Spirit Tremble that reduces enemies' defense and magic defense, and does tons of damage. 1.3 times damage, reduced defense and magic defense, and applies that totem of fear onto the map. AoE, Juggler heals up most of it. Sage of the Tree attack. Takes up the first life of Vincent. My Licorice does die to that second AoE, but I'm fine with that. Because with this, Sigma can finish off Vincent. So 4 against 2. I'm actually not sure what exactly happened there, that I took no damage. It looks like because of all the debuffs that Evil Cod Kruger got, right? First, he has no faction buff. Second, with a minus 20% attack and 20% reduced damage against my 820 magic defense on Juggler, he did absolutely nothing. So due to having my Secret Beast him up, giving me extra magic defense, and so on, this ended up doing just 2000 damage. Juggler completely laughed it off. And there's nothing he can do at this point. So I guess what you can really say is Juggler really, Cavalry Juggler especially, really destroys any kind of AoE team at this time. Especially with the Balanced Blade increasing the range of that Sacred Beast hymn. So what I've been losing to in general has been these things. So after that win, I was definitely gold 2. Actually, I was gold 2 earlier. Look, because this match was gold 2, this match was gold 2, this match was also gold 2. So I hit gold 2 earlier, very quickly. And my losses in general have been to either Lucretia or to SP Cherie. Those are the two characters that have been beating me. I actually took 4 losses in a row here. And it was just me, I think I just played too many matches, just started misplaying or mispicking. But this first loss was to Cherie, which was a legit loss. SP Cherie is actually really hard to deal with. So, his first ban is to get rid of my Akaya, right? The mobility buff is just too useful. So, I get rid of his Rosen Seal. Worth mentioning is his box is clearly a dedicated single target box, unlike what we've been seeing. You know, everyone here is oriented towards single target attacks. Yes, there are some that does a bit of AoE, like Ares would do a bit of AoE damage, Helena would do a bit of AoE damage, and Juggler can AoE as well, but in essence, this is a single target box regardless, because Ares can bring Noble Charge. Helena, in the first place, is single target when she attacks, and Juggler can bring Beast Shock. So it's a very single target oriented box, very offensively oriented. That's why it has Iris as the third healer instead of someone like Rosenseal. And let's get started. So I think we can So after Akaya, there is a ban of 2 of my assassins once again. And Q plays Hilda to start. So I get rid of Keira and Florentia, playing my Zerda. Sigma Bernhardt lost, SP Cherie is played right away. So Iris and LoliJess banned. I try to get rid of the teleporters for SP Cherie, and I play LoliJess. So I lose my 2 more healers, which is Rosenseal and Florentia, and so that leaves me with Licorice as the final healer. And he plays Liana. So he's already got the tank, healer, and assassin combo. So I get rid of his Juggler and Lucretia, playing my healer, Licorice. And finally I lose Hobo and Juggler, so no Hilda Juggler combo now. Q plays Toa, and I am left with 2 AoEs, Bozol and Himiko. Which does not combo well with what I've played so far. So you can kind of see from this that there is definitely an issue with my box design. Regardless, on his side, he has the choice between 4 single target strikers. Right? So in other words, he has tank, healer, and 3 single target hitters, which is a much better, I guess, final options or final choice than mine. So I just play Bozol, you know, might as well go for 3 dark characters, and he plays Rosalia. So Bozol ends up being with a faction buff. Keep in mind Bozol doesn't have his 3C right now, and in the first place 3C wouldn't help all that much anyways, but so Licorice, dedicated healer with Dark Despair as well. You know, Zerda, just pure assassination, bringing Backstab, Heart of Alhazard, as well as Shadow Raid, and LoliJess with the teleport. So one key thing here as well, side note, is the choice of Liana for Q. Because Liana gives him an act again option, which really limits what I can do. Okay. So I actually kind of already make a mistake here, right? Because I've already put my Zerda in range of Cherie. So that is, Cherie can move 6 and Shadow Raid my Zerda. While I have no access to act again or whatever. This was interesting, where he had Toa transfer buffs to Cherie. And Cherie got a mobility buff from that buff transfer as well. So now Cherie has 2 extra mobility, it's at 8 now, and Cherie is free to attack any target she wants. So big time mistakes on my part. Just not really understanding how Cherie works. And just like that, act again on Cherie. She comes in, Shadow Raid kills my Zerda, it's already game over, right? And then she gets to retreat by running away. So completely a free kill, and there's really nothing I can do at this point. So basically game over after turn 1. Would have been different if Liana was not in play. Right? For example, if Liana was not in play, I would have had the option to maybe teleport my Zerda forward, have Zerda act first, and then kill off the target. Instead, because of the act again, Cherie got to act first, take out my Zerda, and then it's basically game over right there. So that battle very quickly made me realize that Liana deserved a spot in my box, right? After that battle, I realized that the act again combo is the way to win it. So I'm just gonna skip the Nexus match because he basically forced me to play an AoE team. I mean, I'll quickly skip. I'm not gonna show the fights, but essentially what happened here was, once again, I was forced into playing a mostly AoE team. Yeah. No healer. I had, healer was Licorice. I had Bozel and Zerda, and then I had Bernhard and Hilda. So it was like, yes, I have the faction buffs to buff up everyone properly, but I didn't have a dedicated either single target focus or AoE focus, which is never a good thing. So as a result, his team, which is all AoE assault basically, right, was able to crush me. So this is where, after winning and getting to gold 2, I started realizing that my box design had issues. Let's Uninstall has a very meta box, so I just wanted to cover it briefly. And essentially, it's all single target oriented as well, right? Zerda, Lucretia, Kaeura, LoliJess, right? Rosalia, long-legged Helena, right? All of these are very long-legged characters. There is Bernhard for faction buffing Empire, and he can both AoE and single target. He can AoE or single target. Hilda and Juggler are the tanks, as always. Healer is Rosenseal and Florentia. Right? SP Cherie, SP Elwyn. The only arguably non-meta character would be Mariel. I guess he chose Mariel because there is the faction buff from both SP Elwyn as well as from Hilda to make this combo viable. So basically, another purely dedicated to single target box, right? Lots of long-legged characters to make it work. So this particular battle had me with Akaya, Zerda, Rosenseal, Hilda, and Hobo. So Hobo could faction buff up Zerda, right? And as well as Akaya. Akaya can mobility buff everyone. And then Hilda could get faction buffed by Rosenseal. Not a bad combo, but I am facing an enemy combo of LoliJess, Zerda, Helena, Rosalia, and Hilda. This battle was actually really interesting. He has no dedicated healer, but both Helena and Rosalia have chivalry, so they kind of self-heal. And Light of Genesis can very easily get into range to attack and then provide healing. Especially since this Light of Genesis is Holy class, giving it Gift of Eternal Life as an option. So my initial action is to just mobility buff the whole party. And start aggressively moving forward. Empire faction buff from Rosenseal now. And Helena gets teleported right away. So he is going to attack right off. I make a mistake here, big time mistake, okay? I thought that with this, with the Wave Whisper, I would apply the terrain effects and also knock back Helena, okay? But Helena didn't get knocked back because this command effect actually applies 3 to 3. So she was within Hilda's command effect. As a result, she didn't get knocked back. So because of that, Helena can move up a little bit, chivalry, change the tile terrain, and then hit my Zerda. and one-shot her. So, big time mistake there. A follow-up strike from Rosalia continues his single target assault. But Helena tanks it. You know, Helena is built to tank single target hits in the first place. So I had the Wolf Soul attack to heal up my Akaya as much as it can, and then Akaya uses her 3C to finish off that Rosalia. Akaya gets hit by a Shadow Raid attack from this enemy Zerda. Those Steel Mane Werewolves are ridiculous, right? The amount of damage they can tank. So, because when they get attacked, they get a 40% defense increase. So, the Shadow Raid on this Akaya doesn't kill her. It's all tanked by those Steel Mane Werewolves. So once again, Shadow Raid is not all that great. And it gets shown once again. Zera doesn't kill anyone. So suddenly it's not too bad. Or it's not looking too bad for me. Right? At the very least, Hilda has not died yet and so on. But I was looking at this and I didn't think I could one-shot this Zerda. Right? Because it was at full health. So I didn't think Hilda could one-shot it, and I didn't think Sage of the Trees could one-shot Zerda either. So I decided to go for the healing with my Rosenseal, and he moves up Hilda to guard this Zerda as a result. Well, so be it, because now I can have my Hilda use the route skill that I brought to stun. And then that gives me the opportunity to have Sage of the Trees attack Zerda, and as expected, you know, not enough damage to kill the Zerda. So it lives. Finally, he has Helena attack my Rosenseal. Shrine Maidens absorb the damage pretty easily. But it does put me in a kind of like an annoying situation, because right now, due to the way things maneuvered, Rosenseal has to move to get into the guard range of Hilda, or she's dead. So I don't have the opportunity to attack. So I have to do it. Rosenseal moves into guard range and heals up Akaya a bit. And as a result, LoliJess was able to teleport this Zerda to safety. So it gets to live instead of me killing it. And then LoliJess attacks my Hilda. I triggered my armor, and it offered me just enough to survive. Right. So by triggering the armor, reducing damage by 20%, Hilda ends up surviving. Also, Light of Genesis was a bit damaged anyways, so the combination of the two was what let me live. So, there's not very many targets I can hit at this point, right? With the way things have gone. Zerda got teleported to safety and healed up, you know? So, Hobo attempts an attack on LoliJess, right? I actually took way more damage than he did, which was unexpected here. You know, I truly thought that with the sources of damage and so on, Hobo could probably wipe out this LoliJess. Instead, it lives. And I do get some healing provided to my Hilda. So with that, I guess I'll weaken Hilda a bunch, right? Not very many options here, as I mentioned. And Sage of the Trees loses his first life to the Zerda. So due to the damage he took fighting LoliJess, I lose my first life to Zerda now. And finally, Hilda has to end her turn, there she is, to guard my Rosenseal. So we're looking at a situation where Hilda is guarding LoliJess, Zerda is nearly dead, Helena is nearly dead, and so on. So, alright. Let's have my Sacred Trees melee attack and kill the Zerda. It ends up being a trade. Helena continues to jumping back and forth. It is 3-on-3 with a very damaged LoliJess. So since I can't hit the LoliJess, I kind of have to focus on weakening Helena at this time. And that's kind of what I do. There were opportunities for me to potentially win and so on. For example, if clocks had triggered on Hobo's 3C skill, I could have AoE'd and gotten a lot more damage output, stuff like that. But it has not happened yet, so... Battles, at this point, it's a 3-on-3. My win condition is kind of having LoliJess kill herself when she attacks my Hilda, right? If LoliJess kills herself, that is Thorns triggers with Crystal Molders, I will kill off LoliJess and win. In the meantime though, it's kind of just wait and see. Action buff to start. LoliJess runs in, and no Thorns triggers, so suddenly she heals a bunch. I still have a choice, I still have a chance. Once again, if Thorns triggers here, which it did, but at that point, I didn't have enough hit points to kill. So let's go back once again. So at this point, Hilda is already very heavily damaged, right? And the crystal molders were all melted. So as a result, this attack, I got Thorns, but I didn't have the crystal molders. So as a result, LoliJess was able to heal up to full, or close to full. And that's the loss at that point. So, if the crystal molders were alive, for some extra magic damage reflection, then LoliJess would have died. But since they were all already dead, he ends up winning as a result of that. So now that I've lost 1 life on Hilda and so on, things just get worse and worse. So, and since LoliJess is getting healed up, I no longer have a chance to kill her. It was an interesting match though. Lot of little things kicked in that caused that loss. I definitely made a mistake losing Zerda for nothing at the start, but it was a close battle. So after that one, right, I started re-evaluating my box after that first week, and I made a whole bunch of adjustments to it to make it more usable. Right? So let's take a look at this one. Against, oh, it's another battle against LufiaScarlet. It seems like I played her earlier as well, right? Yeah. So, but this time I lost to her. So, this first battle, basically, I think she changed her box as well. It looks like. Werner, Akaya. Yeah, it looks like a changed box because there's no Akaya here, for example. And there is Werner. So there's a lot of assassins in this box now, right? SP Cherie, Mariel, Kiura, Werner, Omega, Sigma, right? But still very heavy on Empire in addition to those assassins. So assassins with Empire is what he is now playing. On my side, you can see that I added in yet another assassin. So there's now Hiei, Omega, Kiura, Sigma, Zerda for 5 assassins. Right? I also replaced my Licorice with Liana for Act Again. So the 3 healers are now Florentia, Liana, and Rosenseal. Although I have kept Bozo. Himiko is also gone, of course, because I realized I didn't want to get locked down with a final choice of 2 AoE characters. So, but I have kept Bozo for now. So in terms of the pick ban, Akaya ban, he plays Kiura to start. I get rid of Werner and Florentia, so basically removing all the mobility buffers, although I left LoliJess. Play my juggler to start. My LoliJess and Kiura are now banned. He plays Lucretia, so long-legged, basically long-range, long-legged characters. So get rid of the LoliJess and Sigma. I'm trying to avoid facing all long-legged heroes, and I play my Zerda. So Hiei and Lucretia are banned for me, and he plays Bernhard. SP Elwyn and Alte Muller. Let's get rid of some characters that can benefit from the Empire faction buff. I'll play my Sigma. So I lose Liana and Florentia. So those, and that leaves me with just the choice of Rosenseal at this point. So he plays Rosenseal. I'll get rid of Helena and Mariel. And I also play Rosenseal. So finally, Omega and Hilda are banned, leaving me Bozo and Hobo. Once again, I thought I eliminated this choice, and once again, I realized I didn't. So a bad final pick option. He was able to ban everything but my AoE characters and force me to have to pick an AoE at the end, which means it's a useless character. So on his side, he picks Hilda, and on my side, I pick Bozo. And the big mistake for me in this battle was probably actually allowing Hilda to be a last pick. Should have banned Hilda. So what basically ends up happening is, this is actually a pretty short battle, because we both have lots of damage dealers that will finish the fight very quickly. Lucretia with the mass attack. I try to block with terrain by having her crystal ward at the front right away. So that gives her a revival chance as well. And Juggler will just hover in the back for now. So Lucretia just jumps in and launches out her 3C to one-shot my Rosenseal. Okay. So the 1.6 times damage overwhelms the Shrine Maidens and makes her a one-shot from full health. This I really didn't expect that she is so vulnerable to one-shotting. But so be it. Alright, lost my first life. Ah, that's why. Good to know, Iskarka. Is it? Oh yeah, it's effective against Holy. I see. Ah, right, physical damage only. Yeah, that's why. Okay, so it makes sense that she got one-shotted easily. Fair enough. And then very quickly, teleports to safety. So I also aggress, and I have my Sigma jump in to take down Kiura. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have just left him on the city wall tile to benefit from the 30% extra defense. I just moved him back, and because of that, Bernhard could easily one-shot the Sigma. Zerda will now trigger part of Al-Hazard, getting ready to jump in. I always think Shrine Maidens applies to everyone. Yeah. Full disclosure. Like, I've always assumed that Shrine Maidens kicks in for everything. In any case, so Hilda moves up to guard Bernhardt now. And of course, Rosensteel, Miracle, healing up characters, you know, buffing them, making them immune to debuffs. I launch out a black hole, but that just removes all of the Rosensteel effects. Doesn't actually debuff anyone. So, Sacred Beast him jump from Juggler. But Rosensteel healing continues to kick in and keep the characters relatively healthy. Lucretia just one-shots Juggler very, very easily. And I attempt to have Zerda assassinate Bernhardt with the goal of retreating back 3 tiles after that. And it fails. So that was because I didn't crit hit due to Hilda. So that was game over right there. Couldn't hit Lucretia. That's why. Might have been able to assassinate with the extra 10%, right? That is, if I attack from up here, the forest tile up here. But the whole problem with attacking up here was that I only moved back 3 tiles, right? And then I would be in range of this Lucretia that triggered the mobility buff. So I had no choice but to try to attack from here. If Lucretia didn't trigger the mobility buff, I could have tried attacking from up here and then moved back 3, and would have probably been safe from this, right? But since it did trigger mobility buff, my options were super limited. All I could do was hope that I could kill, and Hilda providing the block against crit hits made it not happen. So game over. But once again, the big issue was also Bozel, right? Bozel being in play like this. Yeah, the other thing I could have tried was probably, well, the other thing I wanted to do was, looking at this in hindsight now, I had the option of having Bozel move first. Like, for example, Bozel put Lucretia to sleep. Then Zerda attack Bernhardt. Right? So there were actually options for me, but didn't really take advantage of them. Yeah, looking at it now, I should have put Bernhardt or Lucretia to sleep, then follow up with Zerda after that. But in any case, assassination failed, it's a loss. So that was that loss. I mean, these next 2 are just more battles using CavJug and winning with him. I just keep showing the Cavalry Juggler because a lot of people have already removed him from their boxes, but he does still have quite a bit of use, right? So Nexus here has a kind of, let's see. I'm actually not sure what Nexus is doing with this box once again. It looks like there's still an AoE attacker in Himiko and an AoE attacker in Night of Mysteries. But I suppose Night of Mysteries can single target as well. But then the only real faction buff for Night of Mysteries is Alte Muller. So it's a little bit iffy there with the Night of Mysteries and Himiko combo. And then Listel is also AoE. So it's like, there's too many AoE characters. It's very easy to get locked into a situation where you end up with a mix of AoE and single target, right? Which is how I've been losing over and over again. In any case, so Nexus, I ban his Akaya, he bans my Rosensteel, plays Juggler to start, right? LoliJess and Lucretia ban, I play my Juggler, right? So I'm not afraid to face AoE, right? That's why I'm banning the single targets first. He bans my 2 healers, my other 2 healers I should say, so Liana and Valentra are banned at this point, and he plays Ares. So, Bernhardt and Listel ban, let's play my Zerda to start once again. So, Illustrial and Kyura ban. Oh, one thing I should mention as well. So after that previous battle, I went even further with the assassins, right? Now Hiei is in the box. Now Illustrial is in the box as well. Right? So I got rid of Hobo, I got rid of Bozo, and added 2 more assassins. So now this box is basically full of there's like what, 6, 7 assassins? Hiei, Omega, Sigma, that's 3. Zerda is 4. Illustrial is 5, Kyura is 6. So there's 6 assassins in the box now. Still no Cherie because I don't have Cherie fully built. Otherwise, I would probably replace Hiei with Cherie. So Leon, so 2 single targets for him. I get rid of the teleporter, Iris, and Hilda. And I play LoliJess. He gets rid of Lucretia and Omega. Still leaves me 2 more assassin picks, if I want them. Playing Knight of Mysteries. Okay. So I get rid of Ultimuller and Himiko, leaving him Rosensteel or Liana. I will play my Hilda at this point. And then, interestingly enough, he leaves me Sigma. So he didn't choose 2 assassins. There were actually not very many. It's actually pretty hard to pick who to ban at this point, right? Sigma, Hiei, Bernhardt, and Akaya. They all have their utility. So I can't blame him for banning Hiei and Bernhardt because I have LoliJess in play, right? So that's fine. He'll play Liana. I'll play Sigma for my other assassin. So I have 2 assassins with LoliJess and Hilda to tank, right? And that means LoliJess and Jugler are my healers, effectively. Right? He has Liana as a dedicated healer, and I guess AoEs is what it is. But it doesn't leave him in a very good situation against Hilda, because several of them are cavalry. So all I need to do is rely on Hilda to tank against hits, and Jugler to support against AoE. And there's not much you can do with this. So basically right from pick ban, this was over. Unless I make some epic fail mistakes. It's Ranger's Eye to Liana. And I just YOLO charge with Juggler once again. Lock him down from moving. And the reason I did that is because of LoliJess. Okay? So the LoliJess Juggler combo is incredibly nasty. Because I can now teleport LoliJess in front, have her act again, and then single target down an enemy. So it actually didn't kill off the Juggler, surprisingly, but got very close. Right? So Juggler survived it because it actually brought Great Dragon Barrier. So the single target didn't kill it. I have my 3 characters at the back, my 2 characters at the front. He does have the opportunity to AoE me with Ares. But the Wind Whisper does not kill anyone. And a large part of that is because Ares gets extra stats from having enemies close by, right? So he is actually missing 5% attack right now. So missing 5% attack combined with me having everyone having last rites and so on, they all live. So Sigma just flat out one-shots Ares with Ranger's Eye skill, right? Because it does extra damage against flyers. So even without soldiers, 1.5 times damage against flyers, 10 shots kills off the Steel and Warriors, 10 shots kills off Ares. Hindsight, I probably should have placed him up here instead of over here. Then he would have healed up a little bit of health. But it's fine, you know. Easy kill. And Juggler now gets to jump in with Sacred Beast him and kill off my Sigma. So that's why I made a misplay there. If I had placed Sigma up here, right, I would actually be out of range of this Juggler. Not only would I be out of range, I would also heal up a bit, right? Because I would be 5 tiles away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Sacred Beast him only has a 4 range. So, whatever. Lost my character, but it's not a huge issue. More importantly, his tank has teleported away. LoliJess can start focusing down these enemies in the back, right? LoliJess kills one, you know. My Juggler can kill off the Knight of Mysteries, and then it's just mopping up. So at this point, he just gave up, surrendered at that point. But another battle of, you know, cavalry juggler assaulting rapidly. Yep, Matt, Apex is closed, so I'm just showing some reviews of matches. So yeah, last week I didn't play all that much. It was, what, 1 battle, 2 battles, 3 battles, 4 battles, 5 battles. Right? Of those 5, I won 3 and lost 1. And then this week, or today, I played 2 and won them both. So, first battle is basically playing a long-range box. Let's start with this, the last battle from last week. The Balanced Blade Juggler combo. So, I continue to ban I'm actually still not entirely sure what is top priority for banning early on. It seems to be Kyura, LoliJess, and Lucretia. Those seems to be the top priority, from what I've seen. So that's what I've been orienting towards. Kyura ban. I lose my Zerda first. Clearly he sees that I have so many Meteor Strike assassins, right? Hiei, Sigma, Omega. So he decided to ban my faction buffer for Meteor Strike first. And play his own Zerda first. Right? So I'll get rid of LoliJess and Lucretia after Kyura. And play my Juggler. He gets rid of my Alastriel and Kyura and plays Vincent. So, Meteor Box, sort of. So I'll get rid of the Juggler and Bernhard, and I'll play my LoliJess next. So I already got the combo that won me the last match. LoliJess and Juggler. Right? You just can't allow that combo in general. Okay, so Lucretia and Florentia ban. On his side, he plays Licorice. So I'll get rid of Ares and SP Elwyn, playing my Hilda. So ended up with my double tank plus LoliJess once again. Bernhard Omega ban. Okay, so I'm left with 2 assassins, Akaya, and 2 healers. He plays Florentia. I'll get rid of Ultimuller and Leon, and I'll play Sigma. Right? So I see flyers, I always like to play Sigma. Finally, he gets rid of my Akaya and Hiei, the mobility people, leaving me a healer as a final pick. He'll play Werner for extra mobility for his team, and so he has... I'm actually not sure what his goal is here, truthfully. Because there's 3 AoEs, but that's not enough to kill me when I have Juggler. There is, I guess, 2 single targets with Zerda and Werner. I'm not really entirely sure what who is aiming for. But, and I'll play Liana, of course, for Act Again. So once again, I have my 2 assassins to easily wipe out damage dealers. I have my tanks to protect them. And I have an Act Again in Liana. So it's like most of these battles have very much been won in pick ban. Okay. He has no tank. So, and that's a nightmare because, for example, I can have I can have Sigma start by choosing a target, right? And then I can Act Again my Sigma. So now, after that, he has 4 range, and he has Searing Strike for an extra additional range to attack. So he will mobility buff, whatever, I don't care. I'll just have my Sigma quickly shoot down this ddrd for an instant win. Right? He's lost one of his critical damage dealers for nothing. Alright, so let's have Juggler jump. Do some AoE damage to all those characters and lock them down a bit. And follow up with the previous combo of teleporting LoliJess up and then attacking and killing a target. So he's down 2 characters. What can he do at this point? Not much, so he just retreats right away. So, you know, a lot of people, a lot of people are playing tankless boxes right now. And realistically, I mean, there's a lot of ways to counter them. Right? Especially if you bring active end heroes, like I did there. And then let's show the last 2. So first battle is me utilizing a long-range strategy. Right? So long-range strategies are very, very simple because there is the existence of both LoliJess and Lucretia. So first things first, he bans my Akaya, I ban his SP Cherie. Right? I'll play my Hilda, and then he bans 2 of my assassins, right? Sigma and Lustriel. So he plays LoliJess. I'll get rid of Kyura and Lucretia now. And I'll play LoliJess. So my ddrd and Kyura are now banned. And he plays Himiko. So I'll just ban Liana and Florentia, his healers. It just leaves him Licorice and ddrd at this point for healing. So I play Omega now as another long-range character. And he gets rid of Florentia and Liana. So I have the choice of Rosenseal at this point. Okay, so he plays ddrd as one of the healers. I'll get rid of the remaining healers, which is Rosenseal and Licorice. And I will play my Rosenseal. Yeah, Rosenseal isn't very dangerous to me. In general. Oh, gotcha, Annuel. Yeah, I completely missed seeing Rosenseal. Okay. So, Juggler, TA ban. Let's see. He picks Luna, okay, which is interesting. He's already shifting towards a princess box for whatever reason, but that's fine. Leaves me with Lucretia as a last pick, or Bernhard, both of which are just great, excellent characters. So I'll get rid of his Hilda and Stefanio, so he can only pick a tank at this point, and I just choose to play Lucretia, because that way my whole box is dedicated long-range attackers, right? LoliJess has like up to 4 range. Lucretia has, let's say, 5 range. Omega has 3 range, but he can teleport back after he kills someone. So I don't need to move up, essentially. And his final pick is his tank, Freya. For the Origins buff, I suppose. So my battle strategy here is very, very simple. You know, have my tank absorb hits, have my 3 long-range attackers wipe him out, while I hover in my tank's guard range. So I do change my Hilda into Cavalry class, because that way the Crystal Molders will block the Unicorns, and then the Cavalry class will block ddrd as infantry. Now, this was, as a side note, this was a battle where bringing Broken Arrow instead of War Goddess would have made sense, but I actually didn't think that he would have a Luna that was in the bow class. I was expecting a flyer Luna, it was a bow Luna. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Luna is not a huge threat in terms of damage output. So Lucretia here is bringing mass attack so that she can buff up my Omega, and Rosenseal is not bringing her faction buff as a result. In the first place, Hilda is buffing up the other characters anyways, so I'd rather have Rosenseal bring 3 healing skills. Alright, so I gave him first attack opportunity, and he uses it by having Himiko, who brought a single target strike skill, attack my Omega. I'm not sure why people expect Himiko to be able to one-shot Omega when crit hits are blocked and when there is no fixed damage hit beforehand. If this Himiko did do fixed damage beforehand, yes, you would break last strikes and then Omega would die, right? But without that, Omega just laughed it off. Took a lot of damage though, but doesn't die. Alright, so let's just mass heal and restore some health on this Omega. And start slowly moving up. I'm just waiting until my Hilda is in a position where all my other characters can be guarded while attacking. And there it is. Lucretia begins. With a long-range strike. Hilda gets hit by the Luna, and as I mentioned, both Lunas do barely any damage. So I guess my Crystal Molders took some damage, but that's about it. And then LoliJess, though, is able to jump in at full range. So that does wipe out my Hilda's first life. So 1 life is gone on my Hilda. No. Teleport my LoliJess up. Have her single target Freya with her 3C. And Freya dies. Freya only works at, Freya can only revive if she has no debuffs on her. And from Lucretia's attack, she got 4 debuffs. So that follow-up attack instantly killed her. More importantly, LoliJess healed up my Hilda to full. And a full hit point Hilda is pretty darn hard to kill. Alright, so he launches out an AoE, but due to Rosenseal healing, Crystal Molders are kept pretty much at full health, and so on. And then Lucretia will finish off Light of Genesis now. And I'll have the Arcane Golem strike Himiko and just make it so that I can attack her. So Luna does a second attack. Once again, doesn't do all that much damage to Hilda. Game over. Very quickly. Yeah. In essence, never ever allow a build like this, right? If you allow the enemy to bring Hilda, Lucretia with LoliJess, there's very, very few win conditions for you. Yeah, ddrd is very, very limited in what she can do. But at the same time, his other healer picks would have probably been worse. What were his healer picks? It was like Rosenseal. I was one-shotting enemies anyways, and I was, yeah. Yeah, Righteous Freed has it. Those are the 3 Yu Hakusho heroes I have. Yusuke, Hiei, and Kurama. Of those 3, Yusuke and Hiei are built. Yeah. Hiei was in the box. I have already moved Hiei out for SP Cherie. I would like to fit Hiei in, but I don't know how. The only way I could fit Hiei in would be if I give up on Bernhard. Which is possible. That is a viable option. but we'll see. After all, Bernhard does lack a bit of mobility, but it's something to consider. And then the very final battle for this review stream is versus ddrd. So the battle that Anirel asked about earlier. Alright, so ddrd's box has, in my opinion, a bit too many healers from what I've seen. There's Florentia, there's Sophia, there is Rosenseal, that's 3. Licorice is basically a healer as well though, mostly, so that's 4. Okay. There is Mariel and SP Cherie. I guess they're benefiting from the faction buff choices for these two are very, very limited. I guess the only way they can get buffed is either Lucretia, LoliJess, or Sophia, more or less. And then there's a lot of tanks here too, I think. What was it? There was Hilda, there was Albedo. Oh, there is Leonhard. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's a box where most characters can get buffed in one way or in one form or another, but at the same time, it's a little bit odd in terms of the focus, in terms of the way it attacks. But in any case, this is his box. Basically, I just don't like how Bozo and Leonhard are both in here. Bozo, Leonhard, and Licorice. It's kind of a weird list of 3 heroes. So that is ddrd's box. My box is, currently with 6 assassins, lots of single target strikers, and yeah, I did move SP Cherie in to replace Hiei, even though she doesn't have her Shadow Raid yet. Pick ban wise, I got rid of his Hilda first, right? And he gets rid of my Kyura. So he plays Albedo right away, the tank. So I get rid of Kyura and LoliJess now, and I play my Hilda. So SP Cherie and Zerda ban. Alright, more assassins getting eliminated. He plays his SP Cherie right away. That's fine. I'll get rid of Omega and Lucretia, and I play my Sigma. So my first assassin gets played. LoliJess Florentia ban. He plays Florentia now for an act again. So I'll get rid of the Rosenseal and Bernhard combo. That was faction buffs for Rosenseal. Or sorry, faction buffs for Florentia so that she cannot get more stacks. And I play Omega. So I now lose my Liana and Rosenseal, so I don't have any healer choices now at this point. He plays Leonhard, and then I actually could have picked Juggler here, which would have been a great choice to just completely lock down Leonhard's utility. Right? I got rid of his Sophia and Mariel first, and then I chose Akaya. Kind of a more iffy choice, but whatever. I chose Akaya to mobility buff Omega and Sigma. I think that was the reason for it. So he gets rid of my Juggler and my Lucretia, leaving me Bernhard and Illustrial. So ddrd, final pick is Licorice. I have Bernhard or Illustrial, and obviously I'll take a 3rd assassin. So essentially, what I end up having is Akaya is going to end up being my mobility buff and my 30% attack buff. Right? While he has Leonhard with Fusion Dark Emperor Sword to dispel. So Sigma first, Ranger's Eye on Cherie. She's the biggest threat with her double attack. And he right away has Leonhard teleport on the spot. So that way Leonhard can move up 5 tiles to hit me with the Fusion Dark Emperor Sword. He's taking the offensive with that. And then mass attack from Florentia to make sure that everyone has the extra attack for when they strike. So Leonhard is now ready to attack, right? And he will sudden strike Leonhard. So I just move. So my decision here, this is a crucial decision, is that I had the choice to move Akaya to buff or move Alestria. Well, I knew that due to Leonhard, Fusion Dark Emperor Sword will dispel 2 buffs. That basically means if I try to attack, or if I buff up with Akaya, they would get removed right away. So I'd rather move Alestria first. So he similarly moves Cherie up to be ready to attack me. And since I have to move Akaya right now, and I know he's going to use Fusion Dark Emperor Sword, I decide not to attack. I decide not to use it. So what I do is I move Akaya up, have her trigger Blood of the Sheikah to spawn the wolf, move her back, and then stick the wolf soul in front. By doing that, one moment. By doing that, first of all, I limit the characters he could hit. I actually miscounted here. I didn't think he would get into this tile, the forest tile, which he could. If he had Balanced Blade, he could have hit all 3 of my back characters too. But he doesn't have Balanced Blade on his Leonhard. So due to that, it does hit 2 characters, which is the Wolf Soul and Hilda. Yeah, I actually miscounted the tiles here. I really thought it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was my expectation. So I'm actually not sure how. But oh, this was a swamp tile! That's why! Okay, good to know. Yeah, so I miscounted. I thought this was an ocean tile. This was a swamp tile, so he could move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But due to lack of Balanced Blade, he could only hit 2 characters. It did strip buffs from my Hilda and so on, but my Hilda kept the guard buff. So I'm still guarding at 2 range. So now the only character Leonhard can kill now is, instead of being able to kill any of these guarded characters, it can only attack my Hilda. So yeah, it strikes, Hilda dies, and I get to start. And I start with Shadow Duel from Sigma to kill Cherie, and it actually kills himself. I could have used Windseer Strike to attack at long range. I just wasn't sure if I could kill with Windseer Strike. In hindsight, Windseer Strike would have probably been smarter. It would have gotten the kill anyways on Cherie, but whatever. It ended up being a kill for kill. Double KO, exactly. Windseer Strike would have been the better option though, but I'll take the kill. Double KO. Yeah. He retreats with Leonhard because, I mean, he had the choice of either killing my Hilda or retreating. He chose to retreat. And I chose to aggressively have Omega take out Licorice. Didn't need a faction buff, didn't need an attack boost, right? Because what I saw was Licorice has no defense speed buff increase. She cast Mass Resist, and Florentia cast Mass Attack. So she's missing defense, 348, right? Which meant that the Dark Elf snipers in Omega could easily wipe out Licorice. So no double KO there, just an easy one-shot from Omega, and then teleport back, and in position. And then Akaya will now attack buff everyone, except for Omega, who is not in range. Oops. And Alestria can now choose the target to attack. So, resounding might hits on Omega. And then I just have my Hilda protect Omega. And then Celestial will charge forth. And finish off Leonhard. And then place herself on the forest tile. So 4 against 2. And then that way, Celestial can now wipe up Florentia. And then it's 4 against 1. And it's just mopping up. I mean, I'm actually very confident in this battle, regardless. Like, even if the guard skill on Hilda was removed, and Leonhard, let's say, killed off Sigma, Celestial could still kill Cherie, right? So as long as Cherie is dead, Omega could then follow up and kill Licorice, and then he just has Leonhard, Florentia, and Albedo. And then I could use Celestial to kill off Leonhard once again, leaving him with Albedo and Florentia, which would not be much of a threat. So regardless, even if Sigma died at the start, I was confident I could win this. Because I had 3 assassins, not just 1 or 2. So yeah, at that point, this battle was fairly easy. I guess overall, the box that I'm running is like a pure assassin box, right? It's like a tank push assassin box, which is weird. But it works. The only thing I'm pondering right now is whether I keep Bernhard or not. Because I could replace Bernhard with Hiei. Well, ideally, I would replace Bernhard with Epsilon. That's what I feel. Because that way I can get the second Meteor faction buff for all these assassins. But for now, the question is what to do with Bernhard. Oops. There are some options that I'm seeing. Like, for example, one thing I'm also considering is if I get rid of Bernhard, maybe I can toss in Werner. Right? Because Werner would provide mobility buff and be another assassin. Or if not Werner, I could also maybe bring Luna. Luna for the Wind God Realm buff and to let everyone else move further. So there are some options for adjustments here. Haven't really finalized what to do with this final slot, but I do feel Bernhard doesn't have much of a role in my current box. Like, my opponents are consistently letting me choose Bernhard as the last character. So, kind of suggests something there. Alright, so that's it for the battle so far. I guess ultimately, this season very clearly is single target oriented. For people who are designing their boxes, they should try to put in as many single target characters as possible, rather than mixing up AoEs with single targets. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this stream. And on that note, Nitro out.